and turn it over to Danielle.
Great. Thank you, guys. Well, as I said earlier, I'm Danielle with United Way, and I'm this morning. What we're going to do as we talk about our community impact grant is I'm kind of in charge of talking a little bit about United Way. Some of our nonprofit organizations haven't had exposure to our local United Way. So we like to build in a little bit of education on the front end, and then Paula will close out talking a lot about our grant guidelines and submissions for any potential grant applications we might have coming in for this 2020, 2026, 2028 community impact grant cycle. I almost thought I was saying the wrong years. Well, a little bit about our mission here at our local United Way. You'll see some acronyms here. We sometimes we call ourselves UWDATS, so UDATS, and that's just our local chapter of United Way. We've been here around our community for nearly 100 years, but wanted to refine and share with you some of our mission and our priority areas across our service area. So our mission really is to bring our people together, bring people and resources together to prevent I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm merging our promise and our mission together. It's connecting people and resources to advance health, education, and income in those in need in our community. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that during the next slide. So our people and our resources are why you are here today. We're helping our people who are in the community who are struggling with poverty. And then our resources are, of course, our nonprofit sector. So thank you so much for what you do and what you bring to our community already. So I shared our mission, our promise, really, this is our focus again right now is working on prevention and reduction of poverty and bringing our community together because we know not one entity can do this work alone. So our priority areas we're going to talk more about this too, but our priority areas around prevention and reduction of poverty are really around healthy communities, youth opportunity, and then financial security. I'm going to give you just a minute to look over this, and this is also on our website too, but it's our organizational statement around dignity, fairness, and belonging. One of the other things that we like to make sure as we're looking at our community is that there's equitable services and resources available to those community members who need them. So this is a statement from our organization that we share broadly and publicly. I'll give you just a minute to look over that. All right. When people ask about United Way, sometimes they're unsure what we do. You might have seen United Way raising dollars, or if you're a nonprofit, perhaps you've been a recipient of some of the dollars. What we do is we raise funds across our 10-county area to be able to have significant impact in the area of poverty and poverty reduction. And how we do that is through that fundraising effort first. And then once we're able to raise dollars, we then can look at what our focuses are, what our community needs are, and then invest in our community where our needs are the greatest. And again, it's kind of a whole cycle of supports that we're offering to our community members. Last year, during the last 2-year grant allocation cycle, we distributed about $150,000 to 35 different nonprofit programs, again, all centered around poverty and poverty reduction. Kind of wanted to give you guys a little bit of a framework. So besides our funded partner network that we currently work with and will continue to invest in with this next 2-year grant cycle, United Way also offers lots of services for any member of our community. I want to share a little bit about those with you too. So we of course have our 211 information and referral line. That's a 24/7 multilingual line where our community members can go to look for area resources. So they can call 211, they can go on the 211 website. You can text your zip code to 898-211. Again, to streamline the resources that they might need based on whatever their potential crisis or barrier is. And we want to make sure too that our nonprofits are aware that that's where our community members are going for local resources. So hopefully your programs are all listed on 211. And if not, there's a spot on our website where you can go to either add that or to edit and adjust, excuse me, any programs that you might have available to you, because that's the way that our community members are engaging with our ever-changing resources here locally. We also have another way to streamline things, and that's through Volunteer DBQ. This is a portal that we work in conjunction with the city of Dubuque. We host this site, and it is a way for our community members to look for a meaningful volunteer experience. It's also a way for nonprofits to save themselves sometimes by just posting their needs on our Volunteer DBQ site. Again, it saves, hopefully it just takes out the middleman, and it's kind of a way to match a person with a meaningful volunteer experience. And then that allows our nonprofits more time to do what they do best, which is providing those direct services. Paula also serves as our community's, Dubuque County's FEMA chair. And through FEMA, we're able to distribute funding sometimes twice a year, sometimes, unfortunately, no times per year, like right now. But the funding through FEMA has been filtered through for food scarcity primarily. So we want to make sure that you hear that anywhere from, I don't know, $40 or so thousand or so is invested during each phase, typically through FEMA. And that is a application process as well. And we publicly announce that when those phases are open for our community members to apply for funding for, again, for food mostly. We also have a Women United affinity group, and this group of women spearheads a couple projects for us. One is our community clothes closet that is in the basement of the NICC downtown building. It's a place where men and women can go for free clothing with the intent for them to access clothing for job interviews or going back to work. We do know other people have access to clothing there for funerals or for even, we've had some people I know come through for homecoming for those types of needs. And again, that's spearheaded through our Women United group. We also have a focus through that group of literacy. And we work with many nonprofit partners who are already working with families who have children 0 to 5 to operate the Sprout into Reading program. What that program does is it provides free books for children age 0 to 5 who are in poverty or who have some potential additional crisis or barriers. It helps build literacy in homes that maybe wouldn't have access to additional reading materials. So it's a great partnership with lots of our other local nonprofits. We also operate through that group, that Women United group, 19 little free libraries across our 10 county tri-state coverage area. And again, little free libraries are places where people can go to access books. Usually those books are about through middle school. And we use volunteers, just like many of you do. We use volunteers frequently to fill those little free libraries and make sure that things are there and available for families in each of our communities. So I mentioned a little bit about our promise to really bring our community together to prevent and reduce poverty. And we kind of have, we call them pillars. So basically that kind of drive those beliefs of ours. We used to, about a year ago, we kind of rebranded with United Way Worldwide. So we changed the titles of the pillars that we have, but we didn't change the work that we're doing. So the titles are just more reflective, I think, of the actual work. So you can see there will be pillars and outcomes available in these pillar areas. So healthy communities is a focus, youth opportunities, financial security, and then much of the work that United Way does through our projects and through our advocacy is around community resiliency. And here you can see some of those priority areas within each of the pillars. And again, the way that we have determined these priority areas is looking at data across our communities. But for example, we have ALICE data that's available, and that is looking at working families who are struggling. We also use census data. We use other types of research and reporting that's available to us, and have elevated these as our primary needs in each of the pillar areas. I mentioned our service area a few times, and how United Way operates is we operate by zip code. So you'll see, for example, we don't serve the entire Fayette County, but that thing I always think looks like a rabbit there, but that's the colored area that's red there. That's the area of Fayette County that we serve, and you can see, for example, Brainerd, Claremont, Elgin, and Wadena there is a part of that Fayette. So I wanted to share this with you because our investments into our nonprofit funded partner network must benefit people that live in our service area. So they're accessing services here. So even though your organization perhaps is outside of our service area, as long as your organization serves families in our service area and you're able to report out specifically on people within our service area, you're welcome to apply for funding through our United Way Community Impact Grant. And as with all things, I'm guessing most things, there are some expectations for those nonprofit programs that are receiving funding through United Way. So I wanted to share a little bit with you about that, just so people are aware on the front end about some of the things that are required of our funded partner network. So clearly, excuse me, um, one of the things we really pride ourselves on is that collaborative network of funded partners. We look to one another to lift each other up to work on addressing poverty. So we'll do lots of things that we have built around that concept of collaboration. One thing is quarterly funded partner meetings. So all of our programs that receive funding are required to attend, or a representative from your organization can attend a funded partner meeting. And those opportunities are really ways for our funded partner network to get to know one another, to potentially build those relationships, of course, if they've not already established them. But it also helps us talk as a nonprofit sector about what are communities' gaps? What are some things that we're seeing in trends? What are areas that we can help lift and support our nonprofit sector? Some great work happens at those funded partner meetings, and I think I just want to make sure that people are aware of that on the front end. We also do a funded partner site visit once during our 2-year grant process. This is something that's arranged with Paula through all of our funded partners. And it's an opportunity where we also invite our board members to attend too. It's a chance for you really just to highlight the work within your organization and of course emphasize the work that's being done with that program that we have funded. Also, we have arranged some that are virtual. We've arranged some that are more presentation style. And again, that's up to your organization to work with Paula on arranging that funded partner visit. Also, all of our partners who are receiving funding through United Way are required to do biannual reporting. So we have mid-year and year-end reporting for outcomes. Again, when you apply for your grant application, you'll be picking outcomes, which Paula will talk about here in a minute. So the expectation is if you are awarded funding through United Way, that you would report on those outcomes that you committed to on that grant application. Again, twice a year. And then quarterly, your organization will share with us their financials to let us know how you've invested the dollars that United Way has allocated to your organization. And again, sometimes the way the funding works is, for example, if your organization is awarded $12,000 annually through this grant, your organization then would receive $1,000 per month for that year. And some organizations might have their expenditures really heavy on the front end, whereas others might not spend any until school starts, for example. So you'll receive the resources monthly but still report out to us quarterly how the expenditures have gone. Another expectation is that you would have within your organization, you would run a United Way workplace campaign. And that is one way, and it's actually the way historically that United Ways across the globe have raised money for years, but it's through a workplace campaign where you would again work with Paula to perhaps arrange a presentation or share information with your employees, offering them the opportunity to donate to United Way's Community Impact Fund should they choose. And it's also a great way for your employees to learn more about United Way and more about our partners and our partnership, not only with your organization potentially, but with our entire nonprofit sector that we're working together with. Again, we have our annual goal is to raise $1.2 million every year. And this is one way we do it is through workplace campaigns. Other ways we do it is through events like our Over the Edge event, or we have an upcoming Captains of the Cocktail event that will be on February 12th if people are interested in that. We also do residential appeals and corporate gift requests, as well as grant funding ourselves. So those are all ways that we work to raise those dollars so that we can invest within our communities. And then, of course, we also have lots of opportunities to support United Way, whether it's through doing presentations with us or advocacy opportunities where we're engaging with people at the Capitol, or just talking about issues like maybe we bring people together to talk about brain health and you're a part of that network. So those are other examples of United Way support and advocacy. Okay, there's no quiz on United Way, but I hope you guys learned a little bit about what we do and how we operate here. And I know Paula's going to share a lot about the grant itself, grant submission, and then we can open it up for questions too that anyone might have.
Yeah, so I get the fun part. I get to do all the nitty gritty about the application and everything. So we'll start out with eligibility. It's very similar to the majority of grant applications that you've probably filled out. Your name, tax ID, and your nonprofit status. You must have a voluntary board of directors and been conducting business as a nonprofit for 2 years. Um, a change from the recent past is we no longer require an audit, but we do ask you to submit your highest level of financial review along with your 990 and provide services within the United Way. As there's that acronym Danielle talked about, UDAT's service area as shared in the previous slide. And then the one that I think is probably most important is program alignment with our focus of poverty prevention and or reduction in the areas of healthy communities, youth opportunities, and or financial security. And as Danielle mentioned, we need that ability to report on the people served within our local community and our service area. So when you go to the website, we use EC Impact is our grant hub. So this is what it looks like when you follow that website link on the bottom here. There's also a link directly on the United Way website that'll take you to this. And you can Google EC Impact and find where to log in. However, if you don't have that number at the end, it's not going to connect you to our local United Way application. So you want to make sure that you're using the link that we have specifically posted. And if you are a returning user, if your agency already has a profile, you're going to click that top button. And if you are new to the system, you are going to have to create a new profile, which is clicking that link on the bottom. If you are returning, if you already have a profile, it should pop up with funding opportunities on the left on this kind of information column on the left there. Click on request grant application and then click continue, and you should be able to continue with your grant that way. And if you are new, it will ask you a series of questions, starting with the first one of your EIN number. So just make sure you have that information ready to go when you begin to log in. So here's the general layout of what our application looks like. We're going to collect basic agency information from you. We have a question around what your agency is doing to offer dignity, fairness, and belonging to not only your clients you're serving, but your staff and potential board members and volunteers. Program information, we want you to be as clear as possible, provide as much information as you can within the character limit that is provided. And additionally, we have a team of volunteers who are reading and scoring all of these. So try to avoid using acronyms or language that is specific to your kind of niche area. Possibly have somebody who doesn't have working knowledge of your organization. Read through your grant before you submit it, just to make sure that if any stranger off the street were to pick up your grant, that they could understand what your program is all about. And then the program details section has a question about collaboration with other organizations. And of course, the one that's weighted probably the most heavy is how does the program help prevent and or reduce poverty? We're going to ask you some information about the population served. So who are the people that you're working for and you're trying to reach with your services? And then you choose an output and outcomes, which I'll share a little bit more about that in the next slide. There's a section on a budget, which is the numbers, and the narrative, which are the words explaining it, and then the upload. So again, I had said we no longer require an audit, but we do ask that you upload your highest level of financial review. So if that is an audit, we would like to see that. Finance is reviewed by outside party, an internal fiscal review, or a 990. Additional uploads include your most recent board of directors list that minimally needs to contain their name, phone number, and email address. And then lastly, your most recently approved operating budget. Program outputs and outcomes. So when you're looking at I highly recommend that you take a look at our priority areas. All of the outcomes and outputs are listed on there on a separate PDF sheet on our website, possibly before you get into the website. It's just a little easier to see it laid out that way. But you're going to pick a primary pillar, whether that's healthy communities, youth opportunities, or financial security. Now, we know that a lot of programs kind of can fit under multiple pillars, but you want to choose the one that aligns most closely with your organization and that you're able to choose outcomes and outputs from that you can report on. So output, you just need to choose one. We would love it if you choose more. You can choose as many that apply because, of course, the more data and more information that we have, the more collective impact we can share with the community and show the good work of our nonprofit partners. But one is the minimum. And that is counting what I call widgets. How many bed nights, how many pounds of food, just kind of those counting numbers. And then when it comes to outcomes, that's showing the true impact and change. So it's the number and percent of, and then whatever the outcome is. You do have to choose 3 outcomes. Of those 3 outcomes, 2 must be from your chosen primary pillar. And then that third one can be from any of the pillars. It can be under the same one, or if you happen to collect a piece of data that falls under one of the other pillars, you are able to choose that as well. So 3 in total are required. The system will not correct you. If you don't choose 3, it will still let you submit. My job when applications come in is I scan them briefly to make sure that they all have the 3 outcomes and they're meeting minimum requirements. If they don't, I will send an email to that main person saying, hey, FYI, this doesn't meet requirements. You have the opportunity to change it. So it does behoove people to get applications in before the deadline so that I have time to review it. If it is, at 4:55 on that Friday, February 13th, and I don't have a chance to review it before the end of the time and it doesn't qualify, I have no opportunity to send it back. So I encourage you to make sure you're getting all 3 of those outcomes chosen and to get it in early so that I can have a chance to review it. And if there are any of those preliminary disqualifiers that I can see, I will send that back for you. Another key thing to note is if you are awarded funding, you will be asked to provide success stories. So tell us a story about what's going well in your program as it relates to the funds that you have been receiving from our United Way. So briefly, I'll talk about our budget. We want you to create a 1-year budget. While this is a 2-year grant cycle, we would like to see 1 year at a time. So what are you requesting for 1 year? There's a minimum ask of 5,000 and a maximum ask of no more than 20% of your organization's annual budget. Now, we get requests from all sizes of organizations. Some have multiple programs, some have one program, but it is your whole organization budget, not just the program budget. So that kind of expands it a little bigger, hopefully for you. Again, uploading your highest level of financial review. Your program budget spreadsheet. So those are the numbers. I want you to put in program staff, this dollar amount. Whatever your items are the numbers. The narrative section is where you have the opportunity to really explain those numbers. So if you're writing for staff, what does that mean? Is that a full-time person? Is that a part-time person? How many, what's their dollar amount? Things like that. So this helps us get a better picture of what those numbers mean. We often get the question, well, how much do you think I should ask for? What do you think is reasonable? And while we can't directly answer that question for you, I can share a little bit of data from our last competitive cycle. So 24-26, our highest award was 73,000. Our lowest award was 6,000. And the average of all of the funded partners currently receiving funds is 24,300. So look at what's appropriate for your agency and know that these are historic numbers. If awarded funding, you will be asked to complete a beneficiary report, both mid-year and year-end. What is required this year will be the number of people served, gender, and county. This is a change from in the past. We are no longer requiring race and ethnicity. However, it is highly, highly encouraged. As I mentioned earlier, the more data we have, the bigger picture, the better picture we can paint of the needs of our community and the overall impact that we are collectively having on our community. So if you're choosing to write for this funds, you need to make sure that you have a way to collect, obviously, the number of people served, their gender, and their county. There is a section for unknown because we also understand that you might not be able to collect it on 100% of the people that you serve, but we really need you to make sure that you are able to report on those few items and would be grateful if you could also report on race and ethnicity. So application process, this is some of the dates that are important. Monday, the grant did officially open, so you are able to go in there and access all of the questions and all of the grant information. It is due Friday, February 13th by 5 o'clock p.m. And that is the system automatically closes. There is unfortunately no wiggle room with that one. I mentioned that we have an investment review panel. This is a team of volunteers, 25 to 30 community members who read, score, and make funding recommendations for the grants. So it's not Danielle and I sitting in our offices saying, oh, we really like this nonprofit, we should give them money. That decision is not made by us. We have volunteers that we bring in. We put them through a training session about community needs and our priority areas at United Way and how to read and score the grant. We provide them a scoring rubric to use to measure the grants against, and they make all of those comments, scores, and referrals to our board of directors. So after that process is done, a lot of work goes on behind the scenes. It is taken to our full board for approval in April, and award announcements will come out Friday, May 1st. Hopefully it is a happy May Day. I've been referring to additional resources. So I wanted to make sure that everybody saw this on our website. When you click to just our general United Way website, the first slider you will see is where you can click for more information about our grants. But if you happen to miss that one, you will go under the About Us tab, and then there is a drop down that says Community Impact Investment Process or Grant. So this is general information. All of the things in the blue box on the right-hand side are active links for important information. So that EC Impact is the actual grant site. That'll take you directly to that site, a direct link. Guidelines. So this goes into more detail about all the guidelines, things funds can and cannot be used for. Again, the important dates are listed on there. This is the detailed community investment priorities. So we saw a slide with those broken down. This takes it a step further and goes through the questions or the outcomes and outputs that are on there to be asked as well. There is the service area. Granted, well, obviously you found the grant information sessions. That's what's happening yesterday and then today. The grant information session PowerPoint. So today's PowerPoint and recording will be updated on that one, hopefully by the end of today. That scoring rubric that I referenced is listed here. And then I will also be posting questions weekly. So anybody is free to email me with any questions they have. I will provide a written answer to that nonprofit, as well as posting it every Friday on our website, redacting the name of the agency and any identifying information. So all questions will be posted weekly on our website as well. So I believe most of you have my contact information, but I will throw it up here again. If you have any questions outside, we will definitely have questions now. But if you have any questions after today that you come up with, please feel free to email me at any time. And myself and or Danielle are more than willing to kind of help you the best way we can, with the understanding that this is a competitive process and there are some things we are unable to share or discuss. But we will do the best that we can.
If I can just add one more thing, Paula, before we turn it over to the group for any questions they might have. One thing that I did not say, I kind of potentially goes without saying maybe, but I want to make sure I call it out to each of you who are on today's call. But because of, we would love to have all the dollars to invest, but as each of you, we're working to fundraise ourselves too. So I just want to say clearly from the front, our board of directors and our staff certainly are excited to invest as many dollars as we can back into our local communities to address poverty. However, we have funding restrictions as well. So there will be, I'm certain of it, there will be great applications that come through our website and come through we'll be reviewing and seeing them that we will not be able to fund. And that does not indicate that your program isn't great or that your organization isn't sound by any means. However, it's just a reflection of of honestly our funding restrictions that we have as well. So Paula and I are 2 of 4 people who work here at United Way. And we work with our board of directors and lots of other volunteers to be able to make the impact that we do across our 10-county area. Last year, a funded partner network impacted collectively 50,000 local lives. We're super proud of that. But no, we have to do so with the parameters that we have in place. So I just want to put that out there to each of you as well. Not to be Debbie Downer on this whole end of our call thing, but I want to read a reality, I guess. How about that? So questions, what questions do you have for Paula or I?
I'm changing my name to Rita Reality on my email signature. Just want you to know.
Good. I'm kind of like excited. I came up with that off the fly, so I might have to use that again.
From your guys' perspective, oh, sorry, who did I just interrupt?
Nope.
Okay. We've been very fortunate to be funded partner for quite some time here. So would you, we have the same, a very similar ask coming up this year. But we could also potentially switch gears and change our ask for you guys and then ask for our previous ask from a different funder. So would you recommend, or maybe you don't have a recommendation either way, on whether we stick with, what has worked and been funded in the past, or is your board potentially looking for more unique and different ideas this time around?
That's a great question, I think, Christine. I'll just throw a little bit in, and Paula, you can add to that. I'd say if your program, I would say look at those healthy, well, we have youth opportunities, healthy communities, all that stuff. Look at the priority areas that are listed there to I think that make sure whatever program that you're applying for, I would do this if I were you, make sure whatever program that you're applying for addresses at least one of those issues under there. If you might address a couple, I would make sure that your narrative reflects that and potentially your outcomes too. I'd also, if I was a current funded partner, I'd look at what my outcomes have reflected, if it's been successful, and if you're doing the good work that you had intended to, and you're not facing barriers for serving families for some means or by some means. I don't think there's any harm in continuing to do the great work that you're already doing. That's my two. That's my 2 cents, Paula.
No, you definitely took the words out of my mouth. I was going to encourage you to look at those priority areas as well. And yeah, everything that you said, Neil, that's what I was thinking as well.
Great. Thank you guys.
Well, I know we are ending a little bit earlier than anticipated, which I'm sure nobody's upset about, but I'll hang around if anybody, wants to ask a question kind of off the group setting for a couple minutes. But if not, this recording will be posted hopefully by the end of today. All the information, I encourage you to check out our website and contact myself or Danielle if you have any questions. And I think from both Danielle and I want to